Hi everybody, this is Matt. Thanks for watching and welcome back. This video is a follow-up to the one that I just did regarding gun safety and gun accidents. And why? Because of you viewers. You've posted some very great comments and questions. And one of you, which I'm going to kind of paraphrase, essentially said, Matt, I don't understand. What the heck is the deal with people out there that will go out and they'll spend hundreds of dollars on a firearm, but yet they'll never learn how to use it. They won't take a class or anything like that. Well, you know what? I've asked myself that question many a time because I see it on a weekly basis where somebody tells me that they got a concealed weapons permit, but they've never fired a gun before. They don't own a gun, or maybe they went out and bought a gun that is way above their abilities just because somebody told them, well, yeah, you should have this. But yet they haven't even shot it. What's up with that? Well, I think there are a couple things going on. One is the society that we live in today, and two is essentially the culture of America, the gun culture, gun community, whatever the heck you want to call it. So let me first go to item number 2, the gun culture. Most Americans will tend to identify with the United States of America as being the frontiersmen, the Davy Crockett's of the world. They'll identify with the Alamo. They'll identify with the Wild West, where everybody was carrying a sidearm. Everybody had a lever action or a flintlock or whatever. Guns are part of our culture. And because of that, I think a lot of people believe that it's hardwired into their DNA because since their ancestors had it, that they're going to be just as great with a firearm because it's in the DNA. Same thing could be said of cars. Detroit, Motor City, right? America's known for its cars. You go to Europe, what do you have there? Mass transit, public transportation. Not too much in the way of car ownership. But everybody in the United States, by golly, we have to have a car. Now, an interesting corollary to that is when I learned how to drive a car, it was back in the early 1970s. It was the car that I drove didn't have power steering. You had rack and pinion steering, and everything was a little bit loosey-goosey. So you had to be pretty sharp on your inputs. You had to kind of anticipate what was going on with the car in order to keep going in a straight line or to get it to do what you wanted it to do. If you drove a 1-ton pickup truck that didn't have power steering, your skill set had to be up there considerably. Now, fast forward to today. We have cars that are drive-by-wire, drive-by throttle, where we have reduced the sensory input to people. Essentially, we've dumbed them down. And for those of you that ride motorcycles, how many more close encounters of the bad kind have you had in the last few years with drivers that are distracted and not paying attention versus years past? Think about that. We've become disconnected. So let me go to the societal part of it. Yeah, we've become disconnected. But why do people purchase something like this and they don't get training for it? I believe that part of it is because of society today wanting instant gratification. I want instant everything. I want instant education. Now, when I was an educator, a lot of the students that I had, I really feel, and I told them, I'm like, I cannot stand here. I do not have a pitcher that is full of knowledge. I cannot unscrew the top of your head, pour said pitcher of knowledge into it, screw it back on there, and you know everything that I know, or everything that you should know. It doesn't work that way. You have to earn it. You have to learn. You have to learn by application. There's no shortcuts. You have to put in the time. You have to put in the effort and the energy. The people that are successful in this world, the only reason that they're successful is because they're diligent. They have drive. They get up. They do the deal each and every day. They practice their craft. I can think of a late uncle of mine that a lot of people would make fun of him. He was a welder, but he was much more than that. But you know what? He was great at what he did because he did the deal every day. He wanted to be the best craftsman every day. So I think that those are reasons why. I also think that part of it is just because from a mechanical standpoint, people don't want to be bothered. They want to think, hey, there's an app for that. Or I can learn it on YouTube. If I see it on YouTube, I've got it. No, you don't. You don't have it until you actually get one of these things in your hand, you go to the range, and you fire it. If you buy a Desert Eagle, are you ready for that type of recoil? I don't think so. If you haven't shot before, I really don't think so. Do you know the subtle differences between firearms? There are subtle differences that are out there. Let's take, for example, a Glock. Now, the Glock factory, those guys in Georgia will tell you, you do not release the slide with the slide stop to go ahead and put it in the battery. That's not the way that they recommend it. They recommend pulling it back all the way and then sending it home. That's how you chamber a round with a Glock. Now, with a Sig Sauer like this, if you try to slingshot it just like I did with the Glock, a lot of times you're going to end up with a misfeed. Why? Because Sig says the proper way of doing it is to release the slide here. And you know what? They're right. But the problem is, there's a lot of folks out there that don't do their homework. And that's why accidents happen. I've seen magazines where essentially the bullets have been loaded backwards and the people are like, it's not working. Really? I mean, come on. But I think that part of that is why. I also think that in today's society, a lot of people, because of pride and ego, don't want to take a class because they don't want their peers, the people in the class, to think that they're less of a person because they're there. They're afraid that they might perform wrong or incorrectly, and they don't want to be made a fool of. Well, you know, there's sometimes when you just have to simply check the ego at the door, especially when it comes to firearms or anything else for that matter, because there will always be other people out there in the world that are smarter than you, better than you, faster than you, everything better than you. That's just the way that it is. That's the way that the world works. So it's not a sin to ask for help. It's not a sin to say, I don't know. What's really wrong is pretending that you know something when you really don't. That is where the predicament comes in. And when it comes to safety, safety is something that I believe you just don't need head knowledge, you need to have it here. And you need to have the practical application of the safety to understand what can and will go wrong. I have been on a line of fire with an inexperienced person with a shotgun where the shotgun, the muzzle of it literally was at arm's length right here, and that woman pulled the trigger, and it was a 12 gauge shotgun. I tell you what, that was not a pleasant experience whatsoever. But it was a rookie, but apparently she thought that she knew what she was doing. You can get hurt with anything. Bows, arrows, firearms, kitchen utensils, kitchen appliances. How many people have set their microwaves on fire because they thought that they could microwave something even though it's set on the label, do not microwave? I think the part of it, my friends, comes down to the fact that a lot of people today expect everything to be easy. They want it instantly. And that's where the problems come in. I live in an area in the country, I live in Iowa, where we get a lot of snow in the wintertime. People are used to driving cars now that are front-wheel drive, which handle way better in the snow than what I learned to drive, which was rear-wheel drive. Now, if you had a big snowstorm and suddenly you took someone who had never driven something with rear-wheel drive and you put them into, say, oh, I don't know, a Dodge Challenger, which is rear-wheel drive, and you turned them loose during a blizzard, do you think they'd maybe be able to make it to their destination? I don't think so. I think they'd end up in the ditch. Why? Because the car handles so much differently. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Take them for what they are. Thanks for asking the questions. Thanks for watching. And until next time, everybody be safe out there and have a good one.